After 14 seasons of competition with the Pro Mazda, an era comes to an end for 60 Plus Racing Adventures here. It's week 12, it's the final week of season 14, the final race in this championship for the Pro Mazda. We come to beautiful Road Atlanta. We have 2 races ahead of us today. Qualifying is being run for race 1 right now, and this is the circuit, the conditions that are going to be facing our drivers. Pretty well perfect for racing, I would say. Thank you so much for joining us on RaceSpotTV. I'm David Haynes, Paul Smith joining me, and on production for today's show. Paul, 60 Plus Racing Adventures, the key of this being all of our drivers are 60 years of age or over, and this is our schedule that we've had so far. Brought you live coverage of round 1 at Lime Rock, brought you live coverage at Sebring here. The end of this 12 rounds to the season, we bring you coverage on RaceSpot of Road Atlanta.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it's been so long since we last brought you coverage of this series here on RaceSpotTV, and it should be an absolute cracker. It's a fantastic classic circuit around here, and these drivers are going to be giving the Pro Mazda a good send-off, I believe.
Yeah, indeed. Next season gets replaced by the Indy Pro 2000, a new edition coming in, the most recent build for iRacing. That one is something I think a lot of people are looking forward to, not least the drivers in this championship. Speaking of that championship though, Stefan Rostgen, man with more championships than anyone else in 60 Plus Racing Adventures, he's gone and sealed himself another one already. Bill Lawrence in second there is not close enough to be able to usurp him in this final round. You look down the points tables there, there's still some close battles between 9th and 10th, Bruce Poole and Paul Stump, maybe even between Leroy Coppage and Randy Shoemake. Something for everyone to fight for. We've got a solid grid for race 1 as well, including 35 cars, and I think Road Atlanta is a great place to go racing with these cars. Really emphasizes the characteristics with the downforce and grip they're going to have through the S's and through the committed first turn. Then also the slipstreaming and the drafting that is so common in these vehicles down that long backstretch.
Yeah, it certainly is. We're actually going to look at Paul Stump's qualifying lap here, the pole position lap. So you see, coming into turn number 1, quite a wide entry, a little bit of a brake, but not too much. The downforce giving them plenty of grip. Wide angle into 2, then 3. It's over a crest there, it's difficult to see, and then through the S's here. The left, keep it absolutely flat out through the right, a little kink to the left, and then onto the brakes for turn 5. This is a corner that catches everyone out in all forms of motorsport around this track. Down to turn 6, tricky corner, but it is on camber, so the camber helps you keep the car on the track, then slow it right down for 7. The exit of this corner is crucial because you kind of carry this speed all the way down here. A couple of kinks down the back end, the cold corners here, but they're not really corners in this car. Absolutely flat out all the way down the straight as you gonna see plenty of slipstreaming and pulling out into this braking zone here for the chicane. You brake really late there, through the left, carry the speed through the right, up over the curb, up over the top of the hilltop, and plunge down the steep hill through the final corner. It's breathtaking, but that is a lap of this magnificent circuit.
And really tidy stuff there. Really didn't see Paul Stump jumping across too many curbs in too many places there. He was just keeping that car on the flat and the level of the paved surface. And all of that together, tidy enough to put him on pole for race 1 at least. Points format is interesting here in 60 Plus Racing Adventures. It gives everyone a great opportunity to try and score their best result. We have 2 races, each with their own qualifying session, and at the end of the round, your points is from your best result of the 2. So if you have a problem here in race 1, you can make up for it potentially in race 2.
certainly can. We'll get to see the grid here. Paul Stump on pole position ahead of Donald Poole. Very close between the two of them. Then Randy Shoemake third ahead of Leroy Coppage in fourth place. Fifth for Bill Lawrence then. Good to see him up there. Sixth place, we've not really talked about him. Stefan Rosechen, champion of this season, is in sixth place with Andrew Fiddler seventh. Russ Eddy eighth place. Matt Robertson 9th in the Team Morgan car with David Riley 10th, Franz Brink 11th, and Bruce Grenheim 12th.
Indeed, in 13th place we've got John Morgan, Urs Muller in 14th, Dev Donnelly in 15th, John Unsby in 16th. Might expect to see him potentially race up through the order. We've seen him podium and win before in this championship, knows how to do it. Might do it out of 16th. 17th is Bob Kern. Bill Kraus then is going to start out of 18th. My goodness, for a lot of the times close in the middle of the pack here around what's a relatively short lap at Road Atlanta. 1 minute 17 seconds for your pole sitter. Just over a minute there. So Jack Turner in 19th, Joel Martin in 20th. Over the page, the next ones goes 21st for Richard Coulomb, Jared Falorison in 22nd, Richard Varley 23rd, Michael Bailey in 24th.
Yep, then the final few drivers here. Wally Malsby 25th place with Kenneth Dummer in 26th, the Team Morgan driver. Gene Moore 27th with Gianni Respaldo, the Team Italian Turtles car, down in 28th. Douglas Beasley in 29th, and then 30th place, row 15, is Barry Hills with Jerry Kerr and Lewis Canal being the first of the drivers not to set a lap time. PJ Sally, David Sostello and Larry Thomas, the other drivers not to set a time here.
We go, we'll see if they take the start. Our beautiful looking Porsche safety car rolls away from the grid to lead the field on their full pace lap around here at Road Atlanta. Fixed setup in this championship, everyone rolling off the grid with the same amount of fuel, with the same suspension settings, with the same wing angles. That's great for keeping the competition close, great for the accessibility of drivers being able to jump into this championship and compete, and also sort of great for keeping everyone on the same page and having a safe setup. Otherwise, sometimes the way to go fast in these cars is to wind a dangerous amount of wing off them, so this keeps everyone with a stable platform to race with.
Yeah, and that's part of the appeal of this championship. It is a fixed setup in this series. It levels the playing field, so it is about the driver's ability out there, and that's crucial really in a series like this. So everybody is used to racing each other by now in this season of the championship, because, well, we're in round 12. We're in the final round of this championship, season 14, as you mentioned. And it certainly is a fantastic series, and I encourage anybody who does qualify to be able to look at racing this series. I do encourage you to actually take part, because we always enjoy broadcasting it here on RaceSpot.
Yeah, always good stuff. Always very, very friendly amongst the competitors. They're all out here to have a bit of fun, not take themselves too seriously, but they like to race fair, have some good battles, and it's always delightful when we get to hear from some of them, which I hope we get to do after our 2 races this evening. So it's 24 laps coming up, then most of the way around this pace lap. Reminder, your front row of the grid there, Paul Stump and Donald Poole.
Yeah, so Stump and Poole, there were only 76 thousandths of a second covering the two of them, so it's interesting to see how they get on in the race here, but the pace car is about to pull into the pit road.
So for 24 laps, it's 35 Pro Mazdas. The green flag waves early, and Paul Stump is right on it into a fantastic lead early. Behind, they're starting to stack up, but it's clean from everyone so far. Almost 3 wide into turn 1 we go, but Randy Shoemake backs out of it, and yes, Poole gets too much of that curb, high sides the car, and has to take a long shortcut. If that's such a thing, it's going to cost him a bunch of time trying to stay out of everyone's way.
Yeah, but he is staying out of everyone's way, so that's good to see. Good driving, good awareness from him not to just rush back onto the track and get involved in the silly incident. So that drops him down, all the way down to 18th place, so second place down to 18th. That's an absolute nightmare. Somebody who's not having an absolute nightmare out there is Paul Stump. He's 4/10 of a second clear already.
As they pull onto the backstretch for the first time in this race, we're going to see exactly how powerful the slipstream is in race conditions. So Paul Stump going to get closed in a little bit by Leroy Coppage, who's already jumped 2 positions on the start of this race. You can see all of our racers within a line there, trying to pick up that advantage off the drivers in front. Randy Shoemake gets very close for second place there, and Stefan Roschen from 6th on the grid in 4th, trying to harass Randy Shoemake for 3rd place there. Absolutely flat through the final corner in these cars. Shoemake trying to defend a little bit very early for that, and the inside line might go to Roschen, who doesn't want to force the issue. Shoemake will hold on around the outside there, very brave, but it lets first and second build a little bit of breathing room over this angry pack behind.
Yeah, it's a bunch of angry Mazdas, well, Mazda-powered cars, should I say, as they come through the Turn 5, infamous Turn 5. I remember last year's iRacing Petit Le Mans being one of the craziest stints I've ever done on commentary in the first 5 hours of the race, so it was mainly down to Turn 5 there. But this is the back straight again, and look at Roschen then, looking dangerous on the back of Randy Shoemake, but Bill Lawrence is in attendance as well as Rosade, so there's a queue of cars all wanting to get past Shoemake, and here comes Roschen.
Yeah, top 8 all close together there. So in this battle for 3rd position, Roschen pulls to the inside, but does not break as deep as Shoemake, who looks like he's still going to hold on to that 3rd place. So he's not giving up on it, and Roschen has already sealed the championship, has nothing to gain from going out there and pulling anything too risky. So he's biding his time, potentially at the risk of 1st and 2nd getting away. First full flying lap on the board now, still in those 117, 118 brackets. Another car pushes too wide in turn 1. Bill Lawrence gets a bit of that grass, gets that curb, and that is proving very, very costly, but very easy to do. We're going to get the replay on board.
Yeah, I was about to mention about Mark Robertson having some rear wing damage to his cars. He must have picked that up on that one, but look at that, missed the apex, ran it out wide, and as soon as he get on that curb, it's almost like a sweet grind on a skateboard, something from Tony Hawk. But yeah, that's not how you want to be moving on. Meanwhile, Richard Coulomb had his own issues down there in the S's as well.
To a lot more disastrous results, so it looks like the tow truck required for Richard Coulomb after that incident. He's riding along on board behind his teammate here. This is a difficult corner over the crest, and he's lost the rear of the car, speared him off, and then he's another concrete barrier grind there. Not the remaster Richard Coulomb was after. That is such a tough corner there, coming over the crest, unsighted towards the braking zone. He's been distracted by what was happening in front of him, locked the rears, and it sent him off the circuit. Meanwhile, Roschen looks like he might make the move on Shoemake's stick at maybe the 3rd or 4th time of asking.
Yep, finally makes his way past and gets up into 3rd place. He'll want to finish off the season with a win. You know that. He's ultra competitive, is Stefan, so he'll want to finish off on a high. We have got an incident. Oh, down in the S's, there's cones everywhere. 2 cars recovering. We'll have to see what's happened here. One of them is Franz Brink.
John Morgan in that one, I think, as well. So we're looking at the replay from Brink's perspective. He
separate.
gets a bit of grass. Entirely different things. Brink has some grass, loops around. Contact in front of him also sent John Morgan around, and they do a bit of a orchestrated ballet pirouette around each other as they rejoin the circuit. Half-hearted move there from John Morgan. I don't think he had enough alongside. He's been squeezed onto that curb, and it's looking like with the setup here with these open wheel cars, you want to avoid the curbs around here at all costs. You often see GT cars jumping over the curbs here, there and everywhere. Not the case for these Pro Mazdas.
No, certainly not. And We'll mention about drivers making their way through the field. John Unsby's up to 10th place, just ahead of Bob Kern, and Bruce Granheim is battling it out with Donald Poole. So Poole's trying to make a recovery drive here after his lap 1, turn 1, how shall we say, a bit of a jaunt down through the grass, but he's got it back under control again. He's starting to push forward, trying to move forward here in this race to get something out of it. But as you mentioned at the top of the show, it is great how the result from this race, if you have a bad one, you've got another race where you could actually reset your finishing position.
Yep, indeed. Bad race 1 is not the end of your round, not the end of your race day. So everything in race 1 is an opportunity to learn for race 2 as well. Getting on board Bob Kern, knocking on the door of the top 10, right in behind John Unsby. A lot of clean air up there in front, so Unsby not getting a slipstream off anyone. Bob Kern picking up a very handsome slipstream there as they almost consider going 3 wide with Donald Poole amongst this as well. The move is complete. Unsby goes back 1 spot. Poole grabs another, and there's Bob Kern also in there, I think, as well. So
yeah.
Yes, 3 wide on the way into the chicane.
It's Kern who actually made it to the front of that queue ahead of John Unsby, so he did actually make the move stick, but Donald Poole, who thought about making it 3 wide, decided against it, and they're still battling it out behind. Stefan Rosgen has had a big incident, and I'm guessing this is turn 5, is it?
From 3rd place, we pick up the replay of Stefan Rosgen, turn 5 out wide across that curb. We said it can be so deadly. It's bit him very, very hard. No time to slow the car and stop it before he hit the barrier from on board. This is probably going to be a little sickening, if I'm honest. Car pushes a little wide, out of sorts as he hits that curb. Car was already a bit unsettled. We stay with the replay because at the same time, here's Donald Poole, John Unsby trying to go 2 wide through the S's. That never works. And up the hill right to where Rosgen was, Unsby pushed wide. Donald Poole loses the rear in the middle of the corner. So Donald Poole going for a spin, same lap as we saw for Rosgen. I think there was
somebody else there who got involved in a spin as well. I can't quite see who it was, unfortunately. But yeah, you see Donald Poole, the result of that. And turn 5, once again, is proving to be an issue in a race car around here. And, you know, these drivers, they've had plenty of time to practice, but this setup and the conditions, maybe they're just working those rear tyres a little bit. And as you know, David, as soon as you get heat into those tyres, it's very difficult to get that grip back again.
Yeah, we're using dynamic time of day as well, so we're actually moved from about 10 a.m.-ish when qualifying was run, closer to 11 a.m. now. Track is slowly warming up a little bit as well as we get along the race, so that's something to watch out for. It's still kind of early days in race 1 here, but it's closed up for our top 3. Paul Stump and Leroy Coppage, who kind of had a bit of a breakaway going on, got closed by Rosgen and Russ Addy. Then we lost Rosgen. Russ Addy now 3rd place right in the mix there as well. Randy Shoemake has not been shying away from any kind of battles here. He's got Andrew Fiddler and Bill Lawrence to go into turn 1. Shoemake has had his fists up defending every position so far. But there is 2 drivers lining up to try and take one away from him.
Yeah, he certainly is putting a defensive display up here. He's not had the best of races. We've seen him just slowly falling back a little bit. And it's affecting him as a car gets out of the way there. A bit of lap traffic for them. You know, these drivers having to work their way through, drivers recovering. Of course, there are fast repairs in this championship, so if you do have an incident, it's not the end of the race for you. Still, you've got the opportunity of getting a fast repair and getting back out there.
Yep, indeed, and that's valuable track time and experience for race 2 potentially as well, even if you're not going to get the result you were hoping for. in race 1 by having to put the car on the tow hook. Here's the slipstream once again. Andrew Fiddler is going to go towards the inside of Randy Shoemake, who'd been very brave on the brakes most times, but not brave enough, as Fiddler is going to grab that spot, I would think. Let's Bill Lawrence in the back of picture get a good run as well. He's going to try and sweep wide through the final corner, pick up the tow on Shoemake down towards turn 1. Same's going to happen on Fiddler, and 3 wide is not how Bill Lawrence wants to run this. He has to back out of that one, but certainly he thought about it. He was picking up a great tow off both of the cars in front. Fiddler still just holds on to that spot ahead of Shoemake.
Yeah, the double draft is really effective around here, and yeah, Bill was feeling the effects of that. Oh, we've got Bob Kern has had an incident. Oh, careful with the rejoin there, Bob. We've got another car off there as well. John Morgan is off. That's a favourite corner now for him to have issues at. But we've got problems here. This is Bob Kern we're going to look at there. Oh, there's a car. So there's two. There's already a car spun already. John Morgan spins, trying to avoid Bob. Oh dear, and then the 99 car, that's Urs Muller coming up on that one. I want to actually see it from Urs' point of view, see, because you don't see a lot of it, and this is a good example of that corner. You're coming up over a crest, coming to the right hand, all of a sudden there's cars are strewn across the track here.
Yeah, great work to pick up the onboard replay there, because the TV cameras really didn't do it justice. All of these occasions, cars come over the crest into the right-hander, and they're about right on top of the apex when they see what's actually going on the other side of the hill. So Randy Shoemake continues to battle here, but a bit of a losing fight for him as Bill Lawrence grabs that spot away, and you can see how much space Andrew Fiddler's been able to build as well. So great run from Fiddler is up 2 positions. Randy Shoemake might have qualified a little stronger than he's able to race, still inside the top 10, and going to pick up the toe of some of those drivers in front. But here's your biggest loser, who's still in the top 10. I mean that with all respect as well. Great qualifying effort for 3rd place. Seen him drop back to 7th though.
Yeah, but on screen,
battle packs.
Yeah, on screen, Jack Turner, the biggest gainer through this race, up 10 places. Well, at least in your top 10 anyway, the biggest gainer there. But he's actually right on the tail of John Unsby at the moment, so he's got a good opportunity of at least 8th. But John Unsby, get this, is 12.5 seconds behind Randy Shoemake.
Yeah, a bunch of good 3-car battles out there. This is one of them, battling over 8th. Jack Turner around the outside. Great overspeed, but not brave enough on the brakes, and Unsby fights and holds onto that spot, while David Riley just lurks in the background here as well. As I said, up the road from them quite some distance before you get to the next battle pack of 3 cars. Shaul Martin, he's got Bill Kraus, Barry Hills, Donald Poole in the picture as well. Poole has had a tough couple laps here, trying to recover some positions. Certainly on qualifying form, has a bit more pace than the drivers he's immediately surrounded with here, but as seen, you have to be so careful trying to get those moves done, because blind corners, track's looking a little slippery as well. And also, here's another example, you've got to be so careful in timing your moves, because there's a couple places where you can be faster, but it is not an overtaking opportunity. And
you've got to be careful as well if you are quote-unquote the faster driver in terms of lap time. If you then catch up to drivers who maybe aren't doing as quick a lap times as yourself, then you've got to be careful making those moves, because they could be braking earlier than you expect, and before you know it, you're at the scene of the accident. But speaking of excitement in this race, look at this, top 3 all within half a second of each other.
Yeah, getting spicy up front. That time around, Leroy Coppage just set his personal best lap of the race, presumably making great use of the slipstream from your leader, Paul Stump, who we ride on board with. A shorter lap here at Road Atlanta than maybe you get at the full layout of Sebring or some other circuits that this championship goes to. So now I'm starting to catch a bunch of traffic in a bunch of places, and It's causing some troubles. David Riley from your top 10 has had a spin, and you can probably guess where. This has been a bogey corner for a lot of drivers. Did the right thing there, standing on the brake pedal, but then getting it out of the grass and onto the track without getting in anyone's way proved very difficult for David Riley. Doesn't look like there's any damage on that car, thankfully.
No, absolutely, but again, it just goes to show what the point that I was making. He actually caught quite a bit of time up in that apex, or heading towards the apex, and basically had to get out of it. As soon as you get off the power and not going how you normally would do, that's when mistakes happen, and that's exactly what happened there. So did the right thing though, kept it out the back of the car in front. Just unfortunate for him, he ended up spinning to the inside. Let's keep him going.
Half the race to go. This is your top 3, showing no signs of this battle dissipating whatsoever. Stump leading, Coppage and Ross Addy right in pursuit. You can see that they've got a couple seconds in hand over Mark Robertson, who's sort of all on his lonesome there in 4th. Bill Lawrence, Andrew Fiddler, Randy Shoemake there, and Jack Turner rounding out the top 10. You can see your top 7 have kind of bolted away. The top 3 we watch because Coppage is in the slipstream. He's going to try and pull a move on Stump. He's got the nose in front, he's got the inside line, and leaves a car's width to the outside, and that is a change of lead. Euro Coppage grabs the race lead in commanding fashion there.
Certainly did. Took a couple of looks. Decided, yes, I am going to go for it, and makes the move down the inside. Look at how late he is on the brakes, even on that outside line, and Stump just had to get out of it a little bit. Meanwhile, Donald Poole, it's going from bad to worse for Donald here. Just nothing seems to be going his way.
Yeah, indeed, that's a real shame there. Might have already been carrying a little bit of damage, but he finds himself facing the wrong way, and we know that that section of track, every car that's going to be coming head-on towards you can't see you until it's almost too late, so you really got to wait before you to find the right opportunity to pull out back on a circuit, get facing the correct way. So Russ Addy, patiently in 3rd place, has watched the 2 in front battle and swap positions. Does he ride along here? Is he going to have the best seat in the house to potentially watch the lead change once again, or does he fancy it might be his time to put the move on Stump? Doesn't look like he's thinking that just yet.
Russ Addy is one of those drivers who has actually really impressed me in this series, because when we first saw him join the series on our broadcast, it was something that just out of the top 10 sort of bracket, and then each broadcast that we show of the series, he's just moved up the grid just that little bit more, and now he's up here battling for a race win. So he's really impressed me, his rate of progression throughout our coverage of this series whenever we have shown it.
He's in a good spot right now, just trying to keep it smooth. Your top 3 still within 1 second of each other. 7 seconds back, it's a 3-car battle for 4th. And, well, there's battles almost everywhere that you want to look on the track right now. My timing screen is awash with fantastic battles that are going on. It comes down to a couple things, you know, the different driving styles and commitment through the first sector of the circuit, through the S's, and then this long back straight. You could probably land a plane on that if you wanted to. And that really closes it up as well on their way down to what's a fantastic opportunity for overtaking the bottom of the hill at that chicane.
Yeah, John Morgan has actually made it past Jack Turner, so he's moved up a position. So Turner back down to 9th place. We saw him get to the head of that little gaggle of cars further down at the bottom of your top 10. So, as you mentioned, plenty of battles here, and this is what this championship provides as well. It provides everybody the opportunities to battle. Oh my goodness, look at the lateness of the break. I think John Unsby maybe... and made contact. No, John. Something has happened there. Lost his braking point, perhaps. We'll get a look from on board with John. But, yeah, he just seemed to get transfixed behind Turner, and then all of a sudden, there's a braking point there somewhere. Maybe not the best rejoin.
Tough to see. He was looking for which way he was going to get around Turner, and in doing so, might have just lost track of his bearings there. Tries to go to the left, doesn't find room there. Tries to go to the right, doesn't find room there. He also doesn't find his braking marker, unfortunately for Yellow Machine John Unsby there.
That's Bob Kern that he's taken there with him as well. Would have been better served to maybe just cut across the grass and the gravel rather than trying to rejoin on the apex. But that's something that he'll learn from that. He's one of those drivers that he will look at that instant, be kicking himself over that, but will learn from that instant as well.
Up front, Coppage leading as he has done for a couple of laps. As we say that, he catches a wicked slide and some grass, tries to park it, but Paul Stump is going to get that lead back. Hairy moment for Coppage, but somehow he's managed to get away with complete disaster. Avoiding complete disaster there, so we watch the onboard here. It's going to be a wiggle across the curb there. Almost bottoms out there, loses his speed and can't block out Paul Stump. Grabs the lead of the race back once again. S is proving to be quite the challenge today.
So yeah, it's mainly been that S's that's been causing the issues in this race, and these drivers are really getting challenged hard through there as they go down into the chicane, and Russ Addy is all of a sudden looking for a potential second place here. We've got a spinner, that's a back marker, having to get out of the way in the 95 car of Dev Dunley, and there goes Russ Addy to take that second place.
I think in avoiding, Coppage might have picked up a slowdown penalty there as well, so get a replay of that one on board from Russ Addy here as he tries to work out which way to go. Patient, checked it up, waited for the window to open to decide he's going to go to the right hand side there. He's netted second place from that. Coppage has dropped back 2 positions in as many laps. Paul Stump currently has just under 1 second of a lead. I don't think he's going to be able to pull away from Russ Addy though.
Well, it was all on 1 lap, was that, for Leroy Coppage. It's all happened to him on that 1 lap there, and it goes to show how one mistake, before you know it, you're heading backwards through the standings there. So yeah, Coppage has got the slipstream of Russ Addy now, so he's got the opportunity to pull back forward again. So don't write off this front 3, but Paul Stump is right on the cusp of actually moving away from that slipstream from the toe there, and if he does break that toe, then he can just pull away.
Yeah, this is the moment where Russ Addy needs to be slightly less patient and a little more elbows out, putting his best laps in as Randy Shoemake nearly gets shoved off the racing circuit there. He's battled with Andrew Fiddler over 5th. Mark Robertson joins the frame. Fiddler and Shoemake have battled each other a bit in this race, and there got nearly close to exchanging a little bit of paint, almost a bit of wheel-to-wheel contact on the exit there. Fiddler holds on to 5th, and Texan of Randy Shoemake not able to gain any of his positions back.
Well, you talk about getting your elbows out. That's exactly what that was from Fiddler. Just running it out wide on the exit of the chicane and squeezing Shoemake right to the exit. And here now comes Robertson to the inside of 6th. Not really an overtaking spot there. You can make a move down into 7 here, but it's not advisable because you end up losing time. And speaking of losing time, there goes Robertson. There's a car spun around behind him as well. A bit of lap traffic.
Yeah, I'm not a gymnastics judge, but I'm going to give a decent score to that routine. Distracted, potentially, a little bit of a wiggle, trying to correct it, and a little problem rapidly becomes a big problem there. Thankfully avoided enough of the wall, gets the car going once again.
Well, time is running out now the laps are counting down. We've got drivers all over the place through the S's here, all trying to jump out the way of your leaders, because the lead battle is a 3-car battle here.
Yeah, Stump hadn't been able to get away from Addy and Coppage. Coppage all the way across the curb, a dangerous manoeuvre there, but not able to keep momentum around Russ Addy. Opportunities keep getting handed to Paul Stump here to try and break away with a lead, but it's just not happening. Russ Addy 8/10 back as they come onto the back straight. I imagine he might lose 3-4 more tenths of that advantage that he's got, particularly once these cars wind up into their 6th gear. Coppage is in a good spot as well. Is he going to try and stick the move on Addy? That might be exactly what Paul Stump wants to see. Coppage actually thinks better of it, and it is 0.3 of a second that Addy did claw back on that back straight.
Yeah, that's a bit of tactics there from Leroy Coppage. Realised that they were on that edge of losing the slipstream, so rather than making a move and slowing each other down even more, decided, you know what, I've still got another number of laps here, another 4 laps to go. There's plenty of opportunities left here, and that slipstream is so strong down the back straight that I would not write off Leroy Coppage from being the overall winner in this race.
I do feel like a couple of these guys keeping their powder dry for the final lap there, just thinking, could make the move, but it's too early for it just yet. Just trying to hold with, once again, a little bit of traffic from Paul Stump. He has to check it up so he can get a good run onto the back straight, which he does. Coppage rode a little bit of the curb there on the exit, which we've not seen a whole lot of, but worked for him. Stump up front at the lead of this battle, tried to grab a bit of the draft off that 66 car, Barry Hills. Just what he can do to try and make his lead more secure, including his defending just a little bit in places here, because Addy was all over the back of him, but didn't make the move, which is absolutely critical. They're going to come across the line now with 3 to go. Coppage has maybe a little drama in the background there. He's going to try and stick with them.
Yeah, just a little bit of issue, but he's able to carry on here. But yeah, Addy, Coppage, they're both battling it out, trying to get the win as we look back from Paul Stump's gearbox. And yeah, this is going to come down to the last lap here. There's no shadow of a doubt about that. But that little issue for Coppage has dropped him back off of Addy. So Addy now can focus all of his efforts on that leader.
Yeah, absolutely he can. Close for first and second. Coppage doing what he can to just try and stick with these guys. He's got to give it 100% right now. Hold nothing back. Back straight. It's like 22 of 24. Stump, Addy, looking like your best prospects to win race 1 today. Half a second in it. We know that this race will probably be decided by who's bravest on the brakes into this corner in a couple of laps' time.
Plunge down the hill there, and Addy is all over the gearbox of Paul Stump. This is the opportunity that Addy needs. Got the slipstream. We've seen moves being made into turn 1, but it's very tricky to make them stick through there. Your best bet is to wait out of turn 7 onto the back straight.
I bet Russ Addy eats his advent calendars 1 chocolate per day, because I've never seen anyone with that much patience and self-discipline that he's got right now.
Yes, Kenneth Duma, big drama for him. Turn 5. That's caused the issue for him, and he ended up getting on the curb on the outside of turn 5, and that sent him around into the wall. But with 2 laps to go, this is a time when you need to start making your move.
Yeah, so back live with the race lead as Paul Stump once again just follows in the wheel tracks of some of the lapped cars, trying to pick up as much draft as he can. It's almost to no avail. You can almost not see Russ Addy behind. That's how close he is. Shadowing, trailing your leader. Being very patient indeed. Coppage has managed to close in on them a little as well. Come down the hill, see the white flag start the final lap Stump leads, Addy waiting to strike.
Yeah, this is it. This is the opportunity that he needs then. He needs to keep the pressure up on Stump. Of course, Addy doing a fantastic job this race. As I mentioned, has progressed forward whenever we've seen him. This is a great golden opportunity for him to take a win here in week 12 of season 14 of the 60 plus racing adventures. Lap traffic out the way. They've got no traffic now to worry about them as they head on down the back straight.
Yeah, it'd be a great way to round out the season, to grab a win if you could, and he is right there coming onto the back straight. This is exactly how Russ Addy wants it. No cars in front for Paul Stump to pick a draft off. Russ Addy right in position, and early Paul Stump is to the left-hand side of the circuit. Just trying to defend that inside. This is more defense than we've seen from him before. Around the outside, Addy has his nose in front, has the racing line. He's going to go around the outside to grab the lead on the final lap, park it on the second apex of the chicane. And is there enough between now and the finish line for Paul Stump? There isn't. So Russ Addy is going to grab the win in front of Paul Stump, and Leroy Coppage was right with them there as well.
Fantastic effort, brilliant move around the outside then from Russ Addy. Great stuff to see, and just goes to show how close these drivers can race these cars. Great stuff from Russ there. Congratulations to him on getting the win here in the end.
He saved that move till when it mattered. He had absolute belief in himself, and he made it stick, so good on him for that. Still other battles out there as well. We're watching Bill Kraus, Wally Molesby, and Donald Poole in there as well, who has had an up and down day. Poole's going to try and pick off one position from Wally Molesby, who's looking rather wounded there. He's also going to try and pick off Bill Kraus on the final lap. It's not going to be around the outside. Is it going to be a classic switchback? He might do it. That's a great move from Poole to just get a great exit, force his opponent to go in too deep, pick up a spot, last braking zone on the last lap of the race.
Wally Molesby had a spin right at the back of the shot that we saw then, so big issues for him. Somebody that we didn't show pretty much all the way through the race, which is Varley, with major damage to the front of his car. But the crucial thing is, he's finishing, and he's going to finish on the lead lap here as well. So across the line then for Richard to finish this race off. But what a win for Russ Addy then in the end. Great stuff, and it just goes to show what you get here in the 60 plus racing adventures.
I think Russ Addy led one lap, and it was certainly the lap that counted. So this is your finishing order, and you see how close it was with our top three as they came across the stripe there. Russ Addy, your winner by less than a tenth of a second. I'm not sure if photo finish was quite required to tell the two apart, but it was certainly tense right until the end. So Paul Stump then in second, Leroy Coppage gets third. Bill Lawrence couldn't quite close them up, but still gets a respectable fourth place. Randy Shoemake held on to fifth in his battle with Andrew Fiddler there, close between those two drivers as well for the fifth step of the finishing results. Mark Robertson then in 7th, John Morgan 8th, Jack Turner gets 9th, Franz Brink rounds out your top 10.
Yeah, we'll look further down then. There's Muller getting the result then in 11th place. We saw him have that incident just catching up to drivers having a bit of a spin into number 3. That's 11th place for us. Donald Poole, he'll be very disappointed with basically all of the incidents that happened in that race. Ends up in 12th place. Bill Kraus 13th, oh so close to 12th in the end of that one. Joel Martin 14th with Richard Varley, as we saw, battered and bruised in 15th, with David Riley and John Unsby on the lead lap as well. Wally Molesby then the first of the drivers, a lap down with Barry Hills and Douglas Beasley rounding up the top 20. Kenneth Dumas 21st ahead of Bruce Granheim with Bob Kern, Gianni Respaldo, all these drivers having taken pit stops. And then PJ Sally, Richard Coulomb we saw have an incident early on in the race. Jim Moore 3 laps down, and these are all drivers that didn't finish. Jared Florison, Dev Donnelly, Jerry Kerr, David Costello, Michael Bailey, Stefan Rosegen, one of the big drama point to this race into the tyre wall at turn number 5. And then Lewis Canal and Larry Thomas did not start the race.
Well, when we saw battles, there was action. It was fascinating to watch it play out like a chess move on the final lap. So a great result for quite a few of our drivers. Other drivers didn't get the result they wanted, got bitten by some of those trouble spots around the circuit, including across the top of the hill here. But they need not despair, because race 2 is not far away, where they're going to be able to fight for redemption for Russ Addy. How can he follow up from this fantastic last lap that sees him take a big W? Great win for Russ Addy.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll pick this one up then as turn 7 is crucial. You carry the speed all the way down there. Now, he didn't have the best run through mid-corner, but still gets on the power well enough to be in that slipstream as they're heading on through 8 and then through 9, the right-hander here. As you mentioned, Stump was going all the way over to the left-hand side of the track. He wasn't giving that inside line, but that didn't matter to Addy, because he went down the outside late on the brakes, and I think Stump realised that wasn't happening. But it was still pretty close as they come out of the chicane, up and over the hill, plunged downhill, and Leroy Coppage was there to pick up any pieces if they did have an incident. Really close across the line, but it is Russ Addy who takes the win in this particular event. And well, it doesn't look like anyone wants to come and talk to us here, David.
It's unfortunate, maybe some will after race 2, but there's a lot of younger drivers that could learn a lot from that drive there from Russ Addy. Fantastically patient, made his move when he needed to, believed in himself, did not miss a beat on the timing of that either. So race 1 was fantastic to watch, start to finish on those 24 laps. Race 2 is not far away. We're going to bring you coverage of that one as well. There'll be a short break here. Don't go too far. We'll bring you coverage of race 2 shortly.
We got big time problems with that motor, buddy. Hey, just between you and me, the idea is to avoid the other cars. Congratulations! You just set the sport back 30 years with that move. That move will put you in the Hall of Shame. You keep doing stuff like that and we're going to lose our sponsor. Looks like that's it for us today. Now I know why you got canned by your old team. It's over. We can't fix that damage. Your car is toast. You'll need a tow back to pit lane. Press and hold your reset button and we'll come and get you.
Simulated racing can be awesome, but it can also be kind of a free-for-all. Interestingly, auto racing faced the same problem in its earlier days. Whether it was on the back roads, the beaches, or the city streets, the racing was always fun. But there was always a certain level of chaos or danger until some folks came along and put some order to all of this. Stuff like official racetracks, regulations about weight and equipment, and enforcement of standards. That's what gave us high-speed excitement, fast-paced action, and photo finishes. That's when racing became racing. The guys over at iRacing.com have made the same transformation in the world of sim racing. See, iRacing analyzes the performance and results of each driver in every race, so you can be sure you're always placed in races where the competition will be tight and that those reckless drivers who ruin it for us all will be kept in the pits. Not to mention that with members in over 130 countries already in their vast community, you can find races day and night, so you can always get in the action. You can even join a league of your favorite series and work your way up to one of 7 world championships, offering over $500,000 in prize money. And since updates are always automatic, you don't have to worry about software and can focus on the track. Zip up your fire suit and check out iRacing.com.
Coming up to the line, being chased, and it was Braden Johnson. Unbelievable finish. It was 1/1000th of a second between them.
Green flag in the air. We are racing in the 2020 24 Hours of Daytona.
They go door to door for the feature race lead here on the last lap of the race. Side by side for the race lead in the final corner at Homestead.
Down the back straightaway, 3 wide again for the race lead. This is unbelievable stuff here tonight.
Loma is going to have to be very deep on the brakes, and he is very deep on the brakes. It's side by side through the corner. This is for the win.
It'll be side by side. Davies low, Ottinger high. To the very inside is Garrett Lowe. 4 wide at the stripe. Audie's win here on this outside line. Neck and neck. Who's going to back out? Does anyone back out? Verstappen starts to squeeze on the inside, and now he'll try and straight line it. Goes under the apron. Drag race to the line. It's so close to call.
It's the iRacing event that needs absolutely no introduction. 33 of the world's best sim racers, 200 laps, 800 corners, 7 pit stops, 500 miles, and a shot at sim racing immortality. It's the 11th running of the iRacing Indianapolis 500.
We are back at North Wilkesboro, North Carolina, where the field is rolling out for the start of today's 400-lap race on this .625-mile racetrack. And just as the field comes all around turn number 4, the sunshine peeks through, helping warm things here. Bill Elliott leads him down. Benny Parsons on the outside. The green flag flies, and the first Union 400 Winston Cup race from North Wilkesboro is underway. Everybody nicely through turns number 1 and 2 as Bill Elliott has the lead, and Dale Earnhardt has jumped into second position, followed by Benny Parsons and Bobby Allison. So here we go. It's just about to go away. They bump coming out of turn 4. Earnhardt gets the lead. We had just heard from our spotters that Neil Wyatt. Is on his last lap. This will be his 24th career win. Dale Earnhardt wins the first Union 400 at North Wilkesboro.
the most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $400,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
We got big time problems with that motor, buddy. Hey, just between you and me, the idea is to avoid the other cars. Congratulations! You just set the sport back 30 years with that move. That move will put you in the Hall of Shame. You keep doing stuff like that and we're going to lose our sponsor. Looks like that's it for us today. Now I know why you got canned by your old team. It's over. We can't fix that damage.
Looks like your car is toast. You'll need a tow back to pit lane, press and hold your reset button, and we'll come and get you.
Simulated racing can be awesome, but it can also be kind of a free-for-all. Interestingly, auto racing faced the same problem in its earlier days. Whether it was on the back roads, the beaches, or the city streets, the racing was always fun. But there was always a certain level of chaos or danger, until some folks came along and put some order to all of this. Stuff like official racetracks, regulations about weight and equipment, and enforcement of standards. That's what gave us high-speed excitement, fast-paced action, and photo finishes. That's when racing became racing. The guys over at iRacing.com have made the same transformation in the world of sim racing. See, iRacing analyzes the performance and results of each driver in every race, so you can be sure you're always placed in races where the competition will be tight and that those reckless drivers who ruin it for us all will be kept in the pits. Not to mention that with members in over 130 countries already in their vast community, you can find races day and night, so you can always get in the action. You can even join a league of your favorite series and work your way up to one of 7 world championships, offering over $500,000 in prize money. And since updates are always automatic, you don't have to worry about software and can focus on the track. Zip up your fire suit and check out iRacing.com.
Coming up to the line, being chased, and it was Braden Johnson. Unbelievable finish. It was 1/1000th of a second between them.
Green flag in the air. We are racing in the 2020 24 Hours of Daytona.
They go door to door for the feature race lead here on the last lap of the race. Side by side for the race lead in the final corner at Homestead.
Down the back straightaway, 3 wide again for the race lead. This is unbelievable stuff here tonight.
Loma is going to have to be very deep on the brakes, and he is very deep on the brakes. It's side by side through the corner. This is for the win.
It'll be side by side. Davies low, Ottinger high. To the very inside is Garrett Lowe. 4 wide at the stripe. For Audie's win here on this outside line. Neck and neck. Who's going to back out? Does anyone back out? Verstappen starts to squeeze on the inside, and now he'll try and straight line it. Goes under the apron, drag race to the line. It's so close to call.
It's the iRacing event that needs absolutely no introduction. 33 of the world's best sim racers, 200 laps, 800 corners, 7 pit stops, 500 miles, and a shot at sim racing immortality. It's the 11th running of the iRacing Indianapolis 500.
We are back at North Wilkesboro, North Carolina, where the field is rolling out for the start of today's 400-lap race on this .625-mile racetrack. And just as the field comes all around turn number 4, the sunshine peeks through, helping warm things here. Bill Elliott leads him down. Benny Parsons on the outside. The green flag flies, and the first Union 400 Winston Cup race from North Wilkesboro is underway. Everybody nicely through turns number 1 and 2 as Bill Elliott has the lead, and Dale Earnhardt has jumped into second position, followed by Benny Parsons and Bobby Allison. So here we go. It's just about to go away. They bump coming out of turn 4. Earnhardt gets the lead. We had just heard from our spotters that Neil Myers. Is on his last lap. This will be his 24th career win. Dale Earnhardt wins the first Union 400 at North Wilkesboro.
Well, it's time now at Road Atlanta for the season finale of 60 Plus Racing Adventures Season 14. Final race of the season and final race in this championship for the Pro Mazda before it gets replaced by the Indy Pro 2000 next season. A lot of drivers, a lot of iRacers have fond memories of this car. A car that a lot of drivers step into on their progression up the ladder and will definitely be missed by some. But they can't miss it until it's gone, and it's still time for race 2. But before we can have race 2, we've got to have qualifying. David Haynes, Paul Smith is on the cameras and joining me in the booth as well. Paul, tough times for quite a lot of drivers in race 1. They're trying to redeem it in race 2, and a good start for race 2 would require a good qualifying.
Yeah, it certainly was, and one of those drivers who had a really tough time in race 1 was this driver that we see on screen right here. Stefan Rosjan ended up in the tyre wall on the exit of turn 5 and did not finish that race, so he is wanted to make amends, and he'll want to get the final pole position here in this car, in this series. So we'll have a watch of his lap and see how he does here.
10-minute session, each driver gets 2 flying laps to count against their name on the board. Stefan Rosjan, it does appear, has started his first flying lap. Typically, if you're allowed 2 laps, your first lap is a banker lap where you make sure you get a clean lap on the board and then you go full attack on your second lap. That is how most people would approach it. Let's see how Stefan Rosjan does. This is his first flying lap and it is looking, maybe a little too committed through turn 5 there as he got quite sideways. He's going to continue on, but I don't imagine this is going to be his best ever lap.
I think he's getting post-traumatic stress flashbacks right there from race number 1 going through turn 5. It's not going to be a good lap, this one, but we'll stick with it, see how he does for the rest of the lap, because he lost about half a second with that, maybe just a little bit more, so it wouldn't have been the most amount of time lost, but it still will have affected his run into turn 6 there. But heading down to the chicane, of course the chicane is 10A and 10B. Don't ask, it's 2 corners. As he goes through the left, and then the right is raw, getting up some air as well on the end of that curb. This is really a dirty lap, and as you mentioned, a banker, well, I don't think that's a banker, that's more of a nightmare.
You take that one to the bank and they'll tell you insufficient funds for Stefan Rosjan. You can see he's now being tumbled down the sheets, 1.7 seconds off Paul Stump, who qualified very, very well for race 1. So when it comes to putting together one quick lap around here, Paul Stump absolutely has it. Provisionally, he's at the top by a tiny bit over John Morgan. He might still have more in his back pocket as well. Times all, I say trickle in, they sort of come as a flood there as a lot of the drivers come across the line. So first lap in hand for most of our field, and you can see on the left how they stand, which drivers might need to up the intensity for their second lap.
Well, you look at how close it is for first and second place. The Stump will be wanting to do better, and there's Donald Poole trying to make amends for race number 1. Look at that, 3.5 tenths ahead of Paul Stump now. So Stump will be wanting to get on pole again for the final round of this championship. Through the penultimate corner, plunge downhill. Final corner, the second lap times are coming in now. This is where we'll see times drop. And that just moves Stump to the front.
Fantastic time there, 17.4 from Paul Stump. More improvements coming in from some of our other drivers as well. None of them yet able to top Stump. Donald Poole, I was going to say, he's still got a second lap in hand, but he has pushed it hard to try and get that pole away from Stump, and he's maybe pushed it a little too hard. Here's another driver who could yet still improve. Richard Coulomb has 1 time on the board. This is going to be his second, and is it an improvement?
Oh, it is, yes.
No, it is. It's an improvement, but not enough as much as he would have liked. Moves him to 21st. So, a lot of tension, I feel, in this qualifying session. Half of the time is done, but most of our drivers have used up their 2 laps. One of those drivers who has not yet done so, Bob Kern, he appears to be
on his out lap.
This would be his yes, could be his out lap. I was entertaining the possibility it could have been his first flying lap, but I'm not seeing that just yet. So with about 24 of our 29 cars having completed all of their allotted laps, in the remaining half of this session gives us an interesting opportunity to shine the spotlight on Bob Kern.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll ride on board with him then. As look at that, Leroy Coppage, third place now on the timings. Apologies for the timing screen breaking on the left there. All the times are that little bit close, and it appears to have broken our timing tower there. So apologies for that. But yeah, you can see Kern, quite a lot of steering input from him. Keeps it off the curb on the right hand side, which is what's caught out a couple of drivers in race number 1. Gets it over to the grass. Late turn in. This is where you want to get the power nice and early, Bob. Nice and smooth out of that turn 7. And then just flat out, up the gears, down the straight here.
He held it in third gear, didn't give him any wheel spin coming onto the back straight. Smooth it was, and hopefully for Bob Kern, smooth is fast again. This could be his quote-unquote banker lap. We will see. From about here, it's just flat out to the line. Heavier, bulkier cars need to worry about this final corner. Not the nimble Pro Mazda. Comes across the line. Bob Kern's going to go into 17th there with an 18.8. He's still got one more lap in his sleeve to see how much he might be able to improve from that. Again, giving plenty of respect to the curbs through the S's here, which I believe is probably the smart way to go about it.
Once you've got that banker lap in though, you maybe want to just push it just that little bit. Try and eke out every little tenth of a second matters. As you can see, well, can't see because of our timing tower being broken. I'll try and reset that for you, but I'm not holding out much hope for it. But yeah, you know, maybe on the second lap, yeah, that's still broken there. On the second lap there, maybe just try and push that little bit harder, get it up over the curbs. But maybe Bob just doesn't feel comfortable at all and wants to be in a place where he knows that he can extract as much time as he feels confident doing.
Well, certainly looked smooth and controlled on the first lap. It is looking a little more aggressive now, but still within the bounds of reason. So Bob Kern to the line, and it is an improvement. It's 3/10 of an improvement, and 3/10 of an improvement is enough to grab 4 or 5 spots there. So closely packed in the middle, and qualifying officially too hot to handle, too close for the timing tower to be able to deal with.
Yeah, absolutely. We're just waiting for the time to tick by now before we can bring you the grid. But yeah, that was a good second lap from Bob. It's put him within 1.1 seconds of pole position. But Donald Poole is still out there, by the way. He's just getting some laps in. You might as well get as much practice in these conditions as possible heading into this final race here.
Goodness knows he had quite the struggle with race 1 there. You know, you want to get your camera time, but you don't want it to be replays of you being spun or you spinning or anything like that. So starting from the front row of the grid for race 2, I'm sure he's going to hope for a cleaner race. We had, I think it was 33 cars for race 1. We've dropped 1 or 2, and I think we're going to have 28 or 29 for race 2 here to round out a fantastic season of one of the more unique iRacing leagues with a unique purpose, but absolutely fills a sim racing niche that has its purpose so far removed from some of the, you know, World Championship Series and their steely competition and, you know, intensity. This is for the older drivers who, you know, just want to go racing.
It certainly is, and it's great to see that spirit of competition out there. But at the same point, it's also great to see the level of respect that these drivers show each other as well, and you hear it when we speak to them after they finish. But David, you've got the grid.
Certainly do. Paul Stump on pole by just a little bit over Donald Poole there, who just didn't manage to get that second lap sorted in qualifying. Maybe he could have challenged for it, but Stump and Poole, front row of the grid, if I am correct, for the second race in a row. So Coppedge then in third. Bill Lawrence has fourth place on the grid. Stefan Rostian, bit better qualifying than race one, and hopefully that'll help him from fifth. He'd love to round out the year with a good result. I say the year, I mean the season, but there we are. Greg Garris in sixth, John Morgan seventh, Russ Addy, your race winner from race one, is going to start out of eighth. Randy Shoemake, the Texan, out of ninth. Mark Robertson then in 10th, David Riley in 11th, and Bob Kern in 12th.
Certainly is. We'll look further down then. Jack Turner 13th ahead of Bruce Granheim. With Kenneth Duma, the T. Morgan driver, 1.2 seconds off of the pole position in 15th place. David Sestella, we're still getting lapped in race number one. He's down in 16th place. Andrew Fiddler 17th, getting the shoulders out in that last race against John Unsby, with Richard Varley, a very battered and bruised car at the end of the last race, in 18th place. Urs Muller 19th ahead of Gianni Raspaldo in 20th place. That's your 10th row of the grid. Row 11, it is Joel Martin ahead of PJ Sally, Bill Krause and Wally Malmsby 23rd, 24th, and just to round out the rest of the grid, Richard Coulomb, John Unsby down in 26th. That is a surprise to see John all the way down there. Then Gene Moore, Douglas Beasley, and finally Dev Donnelly rounds out your 29 car grid.
And that grid is rolling behind the safety car for our lap that will lead them towards the green. Rolling start. One thing definitely noticed from race one, with where the pit entry is, field comes over the crest underneath the bridge towards the final corner. Green flag waves very early. Paul Stump, our pole sitter, able to get away early, and no one quite followed him there. So maybe the grid behind and the man alongside him for this race start be a little more alert to how early that green flag gets waved on the start.
Yeah, as you mentioned, it was Stump who got away really quickly at the start of that first race, and you are right to mention that the green flag does come quick here, because that start and finish line is right on the exit of the final corner. So really, these drivers have got to be pretty sharp on it here as they get ready for the start of this one, getting as much tyre preparation and feeling out these cars, making us feel see how they go for the final time in this Pro Mazda.
Yeah, indeed. Track conditions looking very, very similar to race one, so I think drivers will expect pretty much the same performance out of their tyres, pretty similar grip levels, which will mean, you know, getting on the throttle at similar times, similar braking markers. So no great change. Still a lovely, partly cloudy day in Georgia for beautiful race of 60 plus racing adventures. Race 2 of the round to wind up season 14. Pace car will be in very, very shortly. Paul Stump is ready. Green flag waves, and he gets another fantastic jump off the front of the field. Great start for Paul Stump. Meanwhile, behind, trying to sort out their positions, includes the likes of Stefan Rostian, who does a solid job to hold on to his 5th place off the race start.
Yeah, does well. There's some side-by-side action further down, but it seems to be that everybody's made it through at least the first part of the S's at the start of this race, so that's good to see. Your leaders making their way through turn 5. That is the second crucial point of this track, That's where we've seen a couple of cars have incidents, but it was mainly turn 3 in that first race that we saw the incidents happening. But now they're onto the back straight. This is the opportunity to get the hammer down as a car actually goes through shot there. Who was that? That was Costello.
Yeah, I think so. A couple of drivers having dramas there. We can take a look at the replay. Costello, Duma sustaining issues. And whoa! Yeah, just 2 tires in the grass, not able to stop. Kenneth Duma plows into the back of an innocent victim there. Just misjudged it from Duma, and we've seen that again. These cars low to the ground. You can get up on top of those curbs and sort of bottom the car out, become a bit of a toboggan. It's kind of what we saw happen there from Duma. So unfortunate way to start it for a couple of these guys, and Greg Garris is going to lose positions. Drama onto the grass in turn 1.
Yeah, it's all happening here, isn't it? The start of this one here. So Garris, yeah, just running out wide up over the curb. Does an amazing job to keep it out the wall, though, to be fair. So well held there, Greg, and didn't lose too many positions out of all of that.
Well, I think most importantly is he doesn't look like he's picked up any damage from it, which is absolutely the way to ruin your race early. Lose, 10 seconds. There's still time to get that back, but it costs you far, far more to get the car fixed. So Stump leads. Poole and Lawrence are going to go side by side for second place. Bill Lawrence started out of 4th. Now he's in second place. Grabbed that spot and easily. This is the kind of form I think we expect from Bill Lawrence.
Yeah, he got caught up in a few things in race 1, didn't he? And he'll be wanting to finish off the... I'm saying this about everybody, really. They'll be wanting to finish off the season on a high, finish off with the best result that they can get. But right now, Donald Poole is keeping it on the track, keeping it in 3rd place. Will want to get a good position in this final race of the championship. And I know we mentioned it on the previous race, but your best result out of the 2 races will be the points that you score in the championship.
It's like a drop round within the round, like a drop race. Interesting little format, but definitely means that you can battle a bit if you need, and it's your best race result of race 1 or race 2 that counts. So Lawrence and Poole look like they might swap these spots back once again, definitely benefiting Paul Stump, who has still a couple tenths in hand for the lead. 1st through to 8th, all a train, as you see on your screen here.
Yeah, as seeing those static shots there as the cars went by. Yeah, these drivers are all together. Stefan Rosted taking a little bit of a different line through the penultimate and final corners. So he's trying to just get in the eyes and get in the mirrors of Leroy Coppage ahead of him. Further down your order, Bruce Granheim, Greg Garris and David Riley are all together as well. Greg Garris, of course, with a little bit of a recovery drive here after his little issue in turn 1 on lap 2. So he'll be trying to work his way back through, but there is a little bit of a gap forming, and Randy Shoemaker's not having as good a race this time as he had in race number 1, as in fact Gianni Raspaldo has had an issue. We've not seen him all day, which is a shame, really, because he's got a very shiny livery, shall we say.
We've not seen him because after about half a second, your retinas no longer want to function. That's a real shame for Gianni Raspaldo there. Is he still repping Team Italian Turtles? Not sure about that one, but yeah, he comes over the crest there, and I think you're turning, the car's unsettled, and seeing people lock the front brakes, lock the rear brakes there, and he clearly snatched one of the brakes. At the head of the field though, Lawrence still fending off Donald Poole in second place, as they have this little battle here, and Lawrence defending that position. Neither of them are challenging Paul Stump, who is just there in the lead of the race. None of these guys have got the patience we saw from Russ Addy for 23.5 laps of race 1.
Well, Russ Addy is sat at the back of this pack, really. He's, well, not quite at the back of this pack, but he's in 6th place at the moment behind Stefan Rosgen. So he's just playing that patient game that he played in the last race, and it worked out for him then. So I think a few of these drivers maybe will have looked at that very quickly between the two races and gone, do you know what, maybe if I'm a little bit more patient, wait for my opportunities, because they will come around here, then make the move, it can work out for them.
Yeah, Rossetti's got a train ticket at the moment, but it's not a first class ticket. Those tickets belong to Stump Lawrence Poole, but Coppedge also trying to get in and amongst the picture. For the lead here though, Bill Lawrence makes the move, puts himself into first place, picked up a great toe off Paul Stump, went to the inside, now on the back foot for Stump. He's going to have Poole down the inside of the final corner. You can go flat out too wide through there in these cars. They will remain side by side, but still Poole has the inside into turn 1, makes that job stick, and still a punching bag is Paul Stump, but Coppedge can't make it 3 for 1.
That was
in the background there, Mark Robertson.
Yeah, Robertson.
Spin.
And one of his teammates spinning as well. That's Bob Kern. So 2 drivers from the same outfit from Team Morgan having issues, having problems at turn number 3, but it all got a bit checked up coming out of turn 1 into 2 between Poole and Stump. That then checked up Leroy Coppedge and Russ Addy and Stefan Rosgen. Addy actually made it past Rosgen up into 5th place, so Addy once again over the opportunist, just sat back, waited for the opportunity, it came and he took it.
His way forward there indeed, so we lose 1 from the train there at the lead of the race. Still, it is a tantalising prospect. Bill Lawrence leading, Don Poole holding on to the 2nd place that he qualified with. Paul Stump's dropped back a couple from the pole position. Coppedge still there, and Russ Addy picking off spots as they come.
I tell you who's picking up spots. Look at this, David Riley, Greg Garris, side by side into 1. Look at Mark Robertson there as well, so another driver. So Garris and Robertson now trying to have a bit of a recovery drive in this one. Bob Kern and Bill Krause as well. We're not really showing Bill that much on the coverage here today. They're battling it out for 16th and 17th places. Meanwhile, Russ Addy has had a moment out of turn 5, I believe, and he has dropped down to 6th place, and we will stay with the replay as well because David Riley has had issues as well.
Yeah, so easily done, a bit wide across the bumps of the curb there for Russ Addy. Loses 1 spot. We stick with the replay, as you say. And what are we going to see here? Maybe a more significant incident at turn 5.
Yeah, so the Team Rusty Nut driver up over the curb. As soon as you hit that gravel, it launches the car. Oh, and he just touches the wall. Very well done though. Was patient. Oh, he realised that he wasn't going to get the gap there. Very patient. Lets everyone past. Oh, nearly everyone passed. Oh, and then gets caught in the end, does David. Oh, unfortunate for David there. It almost paid out, did that patience.
Wow, that was not how we thought that was going to end, I'm sure. But another one of these cases, if you come around the corner over a crest and you've got to have a good spotter or your wits about you, otherwise things like that do happen. A couple of places around this circuit that can happen. Turn 5, also we saw quite a lot of it at the very start of the S's. Can probably happen over the crest towards the start-finish line as well. At lead of the race, might switch again. Don Poole, massive toe round Bill Lawrence, swoops into the lead well before the braking zone. It's one of the easier passes I think you'll see done for a while. So they're happy to swap the lead around a little bit at the front of the field at the moment. I wonder how long that will remain the case.
I don't think you want to be at the front of the field though, do you? Because you're punching that hole in the air for everybody else to run in. I mean, look at that, Stefan Rosgen 5th in queue, just set the fastest lap of the race. So the draft is having an effect here in this race. And he's getting a nice big wedge of it, is Stefan down in 5th place. But yeah, it's almost one of those races, one of those tracks, like Monza as well. You don't want to be leading this race at any other time apart from on the last lap.
There's a couple of circuits that are like that. Daytona as well.
Yeah.
It's you've got to work it backwards, be in the right place in the pack at the right time. Happens in cycling as well for some formats there. So laps come around quickly as well. We're back where we were not long ago. This potential move into the chicane. Once again, they swap. Bill Lawrence back to the lead. 6 drivers, 6 cars for this lead pack here. Bill Lawrence and Donald Poole then switching the lead. Paul Stump, 3rd in queue. It's Coppage, Rostion and Russ Addy right at the back of the train. They've kind of lost John Morgan a little bit. He's doing all he can to try and stick with them, but he's just losing out, not having the pace of Lawrence and Poole.
Yeah, Morgan did a, let's have a look, he did a 17.8 that last lap. Oh, Unsby's having major problems. I don't know what's happened here. We'll have to look back on a
suspension
replay.
And steering does not look good for John Unsby there. Things crabbing badly. So this would be Bill Kraus there, side by side, braking zone here. Both of them way deeper than the driver in front. They tangle wheels once and twice, and these are not called an open wheel car for nothing. And that tanglement there is, as you can tell, massively damaged the suspension for John Unsby there, who is driving in a straight line with 15 degrees of yaw.
As we've got that change back at the front of the field. But yeah, that was, they were getting caught out by Bob Kern there, who was a little bit slow going into the chicane there. And Unsby sort of darted out, and oh, well, this won't help John Morgan trying to get with that one, as Greg Garris is going to go around the outside. So he's had issues down at the chicane, as John will have a look back at it, and he's all on his own here. This is all of his own making, and we will stick with the replay after this, because I've just noticed something on our timing screen with Stefan Rosgen. So there we go, Morgan just losing it himself, getting back up and running, and he does lose out the position to Garris. Meanwhile, Rosgen, is this going to be into turn 1? I'll have to wait and see. No, it's going to be into turn 3 then, but he's dropped a position in all of this. There you go. Just that little mistake.
Seen quite a few cars have that wiggle, that point in that corner. Who else did it? Gianni Rispaldo, potentially?
Yep.
And to name a couple. So very, very easily done at that part of the circuit. It's cost Rostion a bunch of time. He's dropped from the lead group. This is that lead group where they're battling over 3rd, 4th and 5th. Coppage, Stump and Russ Addy works his way up into 5th. They are at risk though of losing 1st and 2nd. Poole and Lawrence have looked like they've absolutely had the pace of the field in the early goings, and it's more dramas for Greg Garris.
It's down at the chicane. We'll find out what happened here. John Morgan it was behind him. Onto the brakes. We've seen how good Morgan... Oh, he just loses it himself. Tried to carry too much speed. And that's Greg Garris around as Leroy Coppage pits. Now, why on earth... He's got major damage to the front of his car. What's happened here?
Coppage was in 3rd place. Yes is here. Oh, my goodness. A lot of damage there. He's caught just a bit too much of the curb. It's fed him wide onto the other curb, where he's then caught the grass. The car's bottomed out and rotated. And this is all going to happen in a split second on the onboard.
It's almost a carbon copy of what he did in race 1. When he was fighting for the lead there. That's almost a carbon copy of that.
So there was 8 for the lead of the race. There is now about 4, or maybe is it 2. Bill Lawrence and Donald Poole have almost swapped laps, swapped positions every lap. It's a 24 lap race, so one of them is going to count back and say, hey, actually I want to be leading on the even numbered laps if I can, but I'm not sure exactly how long that trend may continue. These two had started to drop Paul Stump and Russ Addy, but Stump has figuratively found an extra gear and pulled himself right in with this.
We'll have a look at a replay of Douglas Beasley, by the way. He's had an issue. His car's already a bit of a mess going into turn 6. I have a funny feeling it's in through here. Yeah, loses control. And he's thinking, do you know what? Let's park the car.
Not the end to the season they might have had in mind, but sunk cost fallacy is a thing. Quit while you can and while you're ahead, I suppose, if you don't see much hope for the remainder of the race. But there is definitely hope for the remainder of the race for these two, as they're about to swap the lead once again. Donald Poole gets the red carpet rolled out as it's his turn to lead about 2.5 miles of road Atlanta.
Now,
We'll stop right in the picture. Russ Addy has unfortunately dropped back a bit.
it was interesting to see that Paul Stump actually on the last lap, not this one just gone, but the lap before, gave us the fastest lap of a 16.9, so he's got the pace in the car.
Half a second faster than his pole time.
Yeah, so he's got the pace in the car here. I mean, the draft will have taken an effect because, of course, the qualifying was solo qualifying, so there was no other traffic around. But you look at Stump, right as he makes a mistake, we go on board with him. But Stump, he's really reeled in these front two. And Russ Addy has just been left for dead. He's made a mistake on the last lap because he did an 18.5, 1.3 seconds slower on that last lap.
I think he had a mistake on the lap before that, or in the last couple of laps. Just that sort of little, lock up a tyre somewhere, lose half a second. And to lose half a second that drops you out of the draft of the leader is a compounding problem, because it drops you out of the draft, and then you drop further back, and then you drop further back. You really just you don't even need to push it that hard. You just got to stick with this leader. And one by one, they've fallen off. They've gone from that 8-car train to a 3-car train for the lead. Some of those drivers have fallen off. Well, one of them is John Morgan, and here he is involved in this battle. He's in 7th place. Meet in the sandwich of Mark Robertson and Randy Shoemake.
Yep, so Morgan trying to fight back. Robertson with a little bit of damage on the front wing. Not that much, though, so not going to be affecting him greatly on that one. So they have got battling further down in your field, so it's not just up at the front. Speaking of battling, it's Bruce Granheim making it ahead of Andrew Fiddler, who we saw in the last race getting the elbows out, and Greg Garris is involved in that one, so that's 9th, 10th and 11th places in your field. So battling all the way through, and Donald Poole has made a mistake on the exit of turn 7.
Coming onto the backstretch, dramas then for Poole. They're battling side by side in a place that we haven't seen them do just yet. Here, Poole trying to get the perfect run onto the back straight to try and grab the lead, misjudges it a little bit, ends up nose to the concrete barrier. Some very nice RVs in that area that are also very well parked, and about as easy to 3-point turn as this looked for Donald Poole, who in the end got a little bit of a flick spin on the grass, but that has cost him 20 seconds. You could almost microwave something in that time.
It'd have to be a very strong microwave if you microwave something in that time, but all of a sudden we've gone from 8 cars now down to 2 for the lead, as John Morgan has made it past Mark Robertson for now 5th place. And Stefan Rosejane, who had that mistake at turn 3 and dropped back into 6th place, all of a sudden he's got the sniff of a podium here because he's on the back of Russ Addy.
Indeed, I mean, the loss to the lead battle is the gain of some of these other smaller packs down the field. Problems for John Morgan, I would think, and the camera is focused. That turn 5 area, critical part of the racetrack. Here's the replay from on board for John Morgan. loses the rear in a bizarre fashion.
He touched that curb. It's what it was. Oh, that car's a mess. He's not driving that back. We'll try and get enough of a view of this. So he touches that curb. He was half on the power, getting the wheels spinning just that little bit, and we'll slow it down right there. And he touches the curb. That unsettles the car, and before you know it, bang into the tyre wall heavily. And that car is done. It's in the pits. No more. It has ceased to be.
It's not pining for the fjords, that's for sure. And that might be that chassis parked for a while. Great battle here. Just on the fringes of the top 10. Bruce Granheim is in 11th. He can see 8th right in front and gets checked up a little bit by Bob Kern. It's Fiddler and Garris in front. Garris on qualifying form, the fastest in this pack, and might have just been working his way through it.
Yeah, that's exactly what was happening there. They were going 4 wide, is what they were doing, as Paul Stump and Bill Lawrence actually making their way past John Unsby, the recovering John Unsby, who's been in the pits and had one of his fast repairs, so that's that one done. Meanwhile, Russ Addy loses the position to Stefan Rosgen, who has a moment on the exit of the chicane. Does well to keep it in a straight line, though.
Yeah, certainly does. So he had that 3rd place for about a couple hundred metres there, before he just didn't quite nail the landing on it. Up front, Lawrence and Stump still within a second. Stump might like to be a little bit closer at this point, but he is definitely still well placed for a slipstream on the back straight. Lap 18 of 24, approaching the last couple laps of the season. Stump would definitely love to round out the championship with a win. These guys who were going 4 wide earlier still at it, because Garris has gone and lost a position to Andrew Fiddler. Sort of like kids on the last day of school for the year misbehaving. I think that's what we're seeing here for these guys' last race of the season.
Whenever it was last day of the school for me, it was always bringing your favourite toy. That's what it was for us at school. But yeah, these guys having a bit of fun out there, and that's what this championship is about. Even though they're battling at the latter end of the top 10, still having a great battle and giving us a good bit of entertainment to finish off the season.
The series, it's a lot like round of golf with some friends, except a sim racing championship. That's the sort of the attitude these guys bring. They take it seriously, but they don't take it seriously, but they're still kind of taking it seriously. And the moves here from Garris, just trying to keep Fiddler behind. Fiddler now looking for turn 1, the inside. Not able to make that stick, gets swept around the outside, and big loss of momentum. Here comes Bob Kern trying to squeeze him out. It's successful, but boy did they get close. That nearly ended in tears.
Oh, I'll tell you what, that move into turn 1 does not work at all. Unless the other driver backs out of it, that move down the inside does not work. You're better off sweeping around the outside, because you can carry the speed, you can carry the momentum for the inside of turn number 2. So those two, they've been at each other's throats throughout this race. Speaking of 2 who are at each other's throats as well, 3rd and 4th, Stefan Rosgen and Russ Addy, and not that far ahead. I'd say not that far ahead. They're the pit straight ahead, almost 6 seconds between them. 1st and 2nd, Bill Lawrence and Paul Stump.
Yeah, so Rosgen doing a much better job of making it stick that time for 3rd place. But as you rightly point out, with 5 laps to go when they crossed the line that time, I think the ship has sailed on the race victory for anyone except Bill Lawrence and Paul Stump at the moment. Barring any crazy exceptional circumstances, these two are definitely very, very well placed. Got Mark Robertson, Randy Shoemake, Donald Poole, fringes of the top 5 here, and what a charge and a recovery from Donald Poole.
Yeah, fell down the order with the mistake at this next corner. And do you know what the mistake was? It wasn't getting on the power. He clipped that inside curb whilst putting the power down. That's what caused him to lose control of the car. And that's why with some of these curbs you have to show them respect around this track. And he's done just that here, but he's going to make the move to the inside of Shoemake. Can he do it? Should be able to make it stick down the inside. We've seen that Paul's got the pace. There's no doubt about that. It's just the consistency that's maybe lacking that little bit.
Yeah, looked smooth as you like that time though. For that driver of Poole making the move stick. We are looking at the podium spot, and just as I say that, no, we look to Greg Garris, and as these guys, not quite 4 wide, but did they make it 3 wide? They thought better of it. Greg Garris, though, distracted, wide onto the grass, losing a spot, and then another spot.
And he kept on losing spots as well, because he's behind Jack Turner now, so that's really been a disaster for him. But this is now the point in the race here, David, where Paul Stump wants to just sit behind for the time being and make that move on the last lap.
Yeah, precisely. We saw how well that worked in race 1. Race 2, well, it's the weather's the same, almost all the conditions the same. You'd want to make just about the same move. The chess pieces are in the same position, and a win is within sight for Paul Stump in that way. But then if you're Bill Lawrence, how do you counteract it?
You almost deliberately make a mistake on the penultimate cut lap. I think that's what you do. Oh no, I ran wide in turn 7 and you've gone past me down the back straight. It's almost like that when you're that leading car. I may have done that once or twice at the Nürburgring myself, and it paid off once, didn't the other time? So it's a bit of a risky strategy. You'd rather be in front. Normally you'd rather be in front, but when the slipstream is so powerful, when that other driver that you're battling with is so close, you can't take too many risks.
No, indeed. So Stump closes. No defense from Bill Lawrence. No attack from Paul Stump. Poole, Robertson, Shoemake, nearly 3 wide down the back straight themselves. I say nearly, that is very solidly 3 wide for a minute there. Big change of lanes from Donald Poole. You need quite a bit of turn signal to pull that one off. Shoemake, though, might grab a spot here for 5th. I think he did.
Yeah, so Shoemake up to 5th. You've obviously don't remember your times travelling on the highways of the States. There's moves like that get done quite often on the highways. As Shoemake losing the position into turn 1 now as Robertson. It's hard to know where to look because there's so much action throughout this field.
There's 2 laps to go for your leaders as well, so we're getting to the pointy end of the race, of the season, and of the round as well. These guys, great 3-car battle, traded a couple wide across the curb there, but I think good job from Donald Poole. Didn't give it too much throttle, too much steering while it was bouncing across the curbs. You can only ask the car to do a couple things at once before you does not compute not enough grip to make that move stick. So looking at the lead, white flag in the air for Bill Lawrence. He leads half a second ahead of Paul Stump. His strategy looks like he's just going to push hard as he can and hope Stump isn't within reach, isn't close enough to attack into turns 10A and turn B on this final lap of the race. I don't back that strategy. It does feel like a deja vu from race 1. Paul Stump in the perfect position.
Yeah, he's got the opportunity and he's close enough heading into turn 6 and 7. There is a little bit of lap traffic ahead of them. That's David Costello, who was still having those issues on lap 1, so maybe he could come into play here and help out Bill Lawrence here.
potentially, is that close enough to pick up a slipstream? It's not quite close enough to get in the way. 0.4 of a second as they came onto the back straight. And this time, once again, it's Bill Lawrence being a bit defensive. Was to the left side of the circuit, was to the middle of the road. Now he's back on the regular racing line. Stump has to make the move. He comes across, there's not a car width, the door gets closed, and then he tries to put the nose in anyway. Side by side, there's contact between first and second. They're both off in the gravel trap. Russ Addy is in third. He's now in the lead. He's going to go door to door with Roastgen. This is from third and fourth to the battle for the lead, and Roastgen comes from fourth into first in the last 3 corners of the race to grab the win. He was already the champion before this round. Now he ends out the year with a win.
Wow, I mean, talk about getting a win handed to you on a plate right there. Sensational stuff. I thought Lawrence was a little bit cheeky with the defensive move. We'll have a look back at this one. We just caught the end of that one. Let's get it a little bit further back for us here. I thought he was a little bit cheeky with the late move, but he is well within his right. He can pick his line, but Stump has got that move there. Now, he moves back across as Lawrence. If I'm him, I hold my line. Yes, you're going to be compromised into the chicane, but you don't reopen that door for Paul Stump to make the move. Meanwhile, all that was going on, Stefan Roastgen, he got up he was in third place. They go into the chicane. Addy and Roastgen, they make the move. Addy makes the move into the chicane, but he carried too much speed going into the corner, and that opened the door for Roastgen on the exit. Brilliant decisive move from Roastgen at the end there.
Yep, held his nerve. Ross Addy tried to pull a repeat of race 1, but he got in just a little bit too hot. Roastgen with the over-under gets the perfect exit, and not sure he knew it, but he did grab the race win. He knew he got the race win. Not sure he was expecting it maybe 5-10 seconds before that. So here is your finishing order from, I think, a race result that none of us really predicted until those final couple seconds. So Roastgen, the winner, head of Russ Addy. Paul Stump gets third. Bill Lawrence limps it home in fourth, and then fifth place goes to Mark Robertson, quite close with Donald Poole. Randy Shoemake in place as well in seventh. Andrew Fiddler in eighth. Bob Kern ninth, and Jack Turner 10th.
Then the rest of your field then. Greg Garris in 11th place. Bit of a mixed bag for him today. Another couple of errors cost him positions and time. Richard Coulomb not that far behind, 0.8 of a second behind in 12th with Dev Donley, who started right at the back of the grid down there, moved up to 13th in the end, with Bruce Granheim and Bill Krause pretty close together as well across the line. Jim Moore, the last of your lead lap runners, and then the drivers who had to pit. John Unsby, Gianni Raspaldo, John Morgan, the nightmare for John Morgan in that. He was up there with the lead pack early on in the race with Urs Muller 20th place. David Costello had an issue on lap number 1, which meant that he had to take a pit and down in 21st. Joel Martin, Kenneth Dummer, Richard Viali, and then drivers who did not finish: Leroy Coppage, Douglas Beasley, PJ Sally, David Raleigh, and Wally Moresby did not take the race start.
Well, there we go. Both of us can take half a second to catch our breath after that final lap of the race, which I think just in one lap encapsulates some of the kind of racing we've seen all season long with these cars in this championship. And once we've caught that breath, we can go to Randy Shoemake, who finished 7th in race 2 here. Randy, congrats in the top 10. Almost all race long. Seems like you had some battles there. Let's see if we've got Randy Shoemake on TeamSpeak. We do.
How are you doing today?
Doing great, and it's a pleasure to have you. In race 2 there, you had a lot of battles, and you finished in that battle with Mark Robertson and Donald Poole. How was that to round out the season?
That was great battling close, and I really respect those drivers. That's why we're all willing to drive so close to each other. I don't think I beat anybody on track today. I had people go by me. I tried to stay with them, but my placement was because of attrition both in the first race and second race. I want to congratulate Stefan Rosen. I think he may have won a race every single week. And Russ Eddy for winning the first one today gave Russ and I the team championship, road championship. So we're excited about that, and it was a good day.
Well, there you go. Can never be too unhappy racing at Road Atlanta. We saw there's, just a couple parts of the circuit that create some interesting racing and created some action zones. How tough is that entry to the S's? Because we saw a lot of people come over that crest and that curb and find the wall or find trouble. How did you negotiate that section of the track?
I think those were my only 2 incidents in the last race, and I'd say I didn't do it well. For me, running 4th gear gives me the opportunity to run a faster lap, but it's a lot more dangerous. 3rd gear is an easy turn on regardless of where you come in. 4th gear takes a lot of risk. I'm sure a lot of people navigated a lot better than I did today.
Well, you made it to the end of both races and put on a good show. Hope you enjoyed yourself as well. As we say, end of season 14 brings a little bit more significance in 60 plus racing adventures this time as we retire the Pro Mazda. You got any fond memories? Are you gonna miss it, or are you definitely looking forward to the Indy Pro 2000?
Both. We've had some great battles and some great races in the Pro Mazda. That's been Joel Martin that is doing our setups for us, has given us some fantastic setups and makes it competitive. But I'm looking forward to the new car and new challenges.
Well, I want to thank you for finding the time to speak with us. I want to wish you the best next season. Before we let you go, do you have any shout-outs or any thanks you want to give on RaceSpotTV?
David, I want to thank you all for broadcasting us usually 3 times a season. We really enjoy that. It brings a lot of new information to our league. I want to thank the administrators of 60 Plus Racing. They do a great job on the road and oval side. Congratulations to Russ on his finishes today. And I want to thank my parents. Tony Lamberti has always given me a lot of inspiration, and I'm glad he was watching today. And God bless him, and Lord take care of him.
Thanks so much, Randy. Pleasure to speak with you. Best of luck next year. Next season. I keep saying next year. Paul, you have your Race 2 winner and your Season 14 champion with us.
Yes, I certainly do. Stefan Rosen, well, start of that last lap, you were battling with Russ for 3rd place. Did you imagine that you would get the race win coming across the line there?
Never. That was a surprise. I think the guys in front had deserved the win. I did not have the pace today, but okay, I take it. It was fun. It was a lot of fun racing with Russ. He's always a tough competitor.
Well, I mentioned in the commentary how we've seen Russ come from the outskirts of the top 10 when we first started seeing him on the broadcast to now be challenging for race wins here. It certainly shows that everybody's got an opportunity of improving throughout this championship.
Yes, that's right. Many of the drivers have enormously improved their pace, and Paul and Donald and Bill can beat me every day.
But of course, you've taken a race win here in the second race, and you were also secured as the champion coming into this round. But we're retiring this car. What are your thoughts moving forward to the brand new car?
I have no clue. Let's see what it will bring. Life is changing. I loved the old car for sure. I raced it all the last 5 years, and but okay, time's changing, and I'm looking forward to the new one. I think we will have a closer championship then.
Well, this is it. It's very much going to get everybody on a level playing field coming into the new season of the championship. But you are an 8-time champion now in this series. Just any final thoughts as we end this season on your time with the Pro Mazda in this championship? Any fond memories of it?
I think this is a great community. That is the most important thing to say here, and it wouldn't be that if we didn't have the hard work and the commitment of our admins, Joel, Mark, and Richard. They have done a great job, and it's always a pleasure to have you from RaceSpot and making the show and this all together. And all the drivers are all nice guys, and this all together makes it great.
Well, it is the final race of season 14. Is there anyone you want to wish a thank you whilst you're here on the broadcast?
Yeah, as I mentioned, the admins, RaceSpot, all the drivers. Thank you very much for that.
Well, thank you very much for stepping into the commentary booth, and congratulations on a race win today and on the season championship.
Yeah, thank you for that. See you next season.
We would love to see you again next season. David?
Yeah, well, there we go. Fantastic racing from Road Atlanta in 60 Plus Racing Adventures. Great cast of characters we have as well. It was great. We got to speak with some of them after race 2 there. Both races decided in the final braking zone of the final lap, and everyone enjoying themselves as well. Fantastic to see from here at Road Atlanta 60 Plus Racing Adventures. A great way, a very exciting way to end this season of this championship. 60 Plus Racing Adventures continues next season, and of course you can read all the information and sign up on the iRacing forum in League and Hosted. But from ourselves at RaceSpotTV, myself, David Haynes, Paul Smith with the cameras, and alongside me, those cameras by Istvan Balot, Track Cams 22. We want to thank you for tuning in. We want to thank all of our competitors, and we want to thank series administrators for having RaceSpot cover this league once again. We'll see you again soon. Thank you so much for tuning in. Goodbye.